2025, we're living at a time where people actually believe that Donald Trump is the Messiah. It's God's chosen vessel. And what is interesting about that is that the people who boast this claim are not atheists, they are Christian, who see no problem supporting a man who's a racist, a misogynist, a sociopath, a convicted criminal. And we might be at a place in human history, and here comes my thesis statement, where we need to protect, hear this, where we may need to protect the culture from the church. The culture needs to be protected from the present-day American church. How can you be a follower of the gospel of Jesus Christ and allow the richest man in the world to cancel the support of poor people? So the question that begs being answered by America tonight is, when they say, "In God we trust," which God are they talking about? How can we be rooted in the gospel and then get up and boast in a joint session of Congress about erasing the civil rights movement? They say that they have the same God, but they want to strip down every exhibit in the African American Smithsonian Museum because they said that makes them uncomfortable. The question is, if an exhibit at the Smithsonian makes them uncomfortable, what does the picture of Christ on a cross make them? Can you get any more gory than 9-inch nails coming through somebody's hands and a 14-inch spike coming through somebody's ankles? You're telling me that is palatable, but a black man hanging from a sycamore tree is indigestible. The God of Donald Trump cannot be the God of Martin Luther King. The God of Elon Musk can't possibly be the God of Ella Baker. A lot of people think that the separation of church and state was created to protect the church from the state. But when Thomas Jefferson wrote in his notes on the state of Virginia, he made it abundantly clear that the real purpose of the separation of church and state was to protect the state, hear this, from the irrational excesses of religion. Thomas Jefferson, the founding father, said he had to protect the state because sometimes the church becomes excessive. And so we gather here tonight to confront a deeper question than the issue of whether America can be saved from hatred and racism. But our question as religious people has now become, how, I need you to hear this, how do we save religion? How do we save religion when religion has become carnal? Because, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that the biggest constituency base for Trump and Musk are followers of the gospel. These are not pagans. They have formed a political base, a movement, if you would, to make a society great, and they're using the Bible as their justification. So these are people who, like you tonight, go to Bible study. They, like you, come to church on Sunday. They, like you, listen to gospel music on Sirius Radio. They, like you, have their names engraved on a Bible. They sing some of the same hymns. They theoretically pray to the same Jesus. And I underscore theoretically. Because, Dr. Carey, Jacqueline Grant taught us that the white woman's Christ may be the black woman's Jesus. Two different individuals under the canopy of the same deity. Because how can you be a follower of the gospel of Jesus Christ and allow the richest man in the world to cancel the support of poor people? So the question that begs being answered by America tonight is, when they say, "In God we trust," which God are they talking about? How can we be rooted in the gospel and then get a baby that has to be born after they get here, that nobody cares about whether they're being starved to death, whether they're being miseducated, whether the books they need to read are now being banned, that their teachers are being underpaid, that they no longer have access to vaccination, that Head Start programs are no longer being funded, and yet all of this legislation is being offered by practicing self-professed Christians. And you say tonight you're one of them. That's why we have to go back to the question, what does Athens have to do with Jerusalem? Because we're living at a time when the justification of a belief doesn't believe itself. Just because you believe something, do you think that it's true? Just because you see something on social media, does it mean that it's accurate? Just because somebody said it from a microphone, does it really mean that it's God ordained? And just because you call yourself a Christian, does it really mean you are one? Don't tell me you're a Christian when you got a heart full of hatred. Don't talk to me about being a believer when you have absolutely no heart for the poor and for the disenfranchised. Jesus said, what a lot of you tonight do not want to hear, Jesus said, you can tell the tree by the fruit it bears. And a lot of you, if you were on that dusty Macedonian road, would have been cursed because you are a tree that is not producing. There is no evidence that God is connected to your life outside of your attendance. He doesn't have your attention, doesn't have your compassion, and he does not have your sacrifice. I'm not talking about the words of righteousness. I am not talking about how long you have been stationed in one colony of faith. But in the words of Dick Gregory, if Jesus was killed by an electric chair, you would wear an electric chair around a gold chain. If Jesus was killed by lethal injection, you would find yourself wearing a diamond syringe around your neck. How do we take the instrument of God's agony and make it jewelry? How do we find the glorification of the agony of my sin to make it pretty so that I can feel comfortable? Are you more than a conqueror?